The world is getting crazier. People are acting more and more insane. The end of the world is tomorrow. Tomorrow. There's only one thing to do when the world is falling apart. Listen to Basil and Gonz as they discuss this week's news and events through the lens of Bible prophecy.
You are listening to Canary Cry News Talk.
You're listening to Canary Cry News Talk. Today's May 15th, 2019, episode 139. And this week, Generation Alpha and Titan Sports. My name's Basil.
And this is Gonz. Welcome to the podcast where we talk about other news with Canary Cry views.
That's right. Welcome, everybody. And to start it off, Gonz, I have a Roomba update.
Your wish is my command, masters.
That's right. Everybody knows that I finally let a robot into my home, my new beloved robot slave.
Yuck.
I think the last update was that it was screaming at me anytime it turned on. It was making just a belligerent scream, and so I had to call the support network, the emotional support network for my robot, and long story short, they just sent me another one. So I have a brand. Yeah, that's right. Brand new robot.
You don't have the original anymore.
I had it for like 2 weeks.
Oh, that is very short lifespan.
It didn't last very long. And those who are paying attention, you know that I don't actually have a Roomba. It's a Shark Ion, right. But Roomba is a significantly better branding. So, me having to trade in my robot for a new one is in no way a smirch on the Roomba brand. But Roomba's back at work, making it happen, cleaning my floors.
I'm for the robots.
That's right. But so far, besides the new Roomba, no new robots in the home.
Well, that's good. And is it keeping your floors clean at least? Is it doing its job?
It's working. It's doing the job.
Right.
You'd be amazed how much cat hair can sort of accumulate over a 6-day period where the Roomba's in the mail.
Yeah.
But so
life is different.
And again, the more interesting thing is because the robot can't clean if my floors are dirty, like if stuff is on my floors, like shoes
it forces
or clothes.
You to pick up clothes off the ground.
It's changing my behavior.
Your behavior. Yep.
I've become much more cleanly. I'm always picking things up off the floor now, which is something I would never do before. Never even imagine doing on a daily basis. So there you go. My robot's making me a better person, Gonz.
Well, that's good.
I'll keep you warm and safe in my people's zoo.
Yep. And speaking of robots making us better people,
in our people's zoo?
In our people's zoo, we've talked about in the past how countries like Finland, like pretty much half the country just wants a robot to run the country as a politician. This is a quick update from theconversation.com. Avoid the politics and let artificial intelligence decide your vote in the next election. If trust in our politicians is at an all-time low, maybe it's time to reconsider how we elect them in the first place.
Yeah.
Can artificial intelligence help with our voting decisions? Music and video streaming services already suggest songs, movies, or TV shows that we'll probably enjoy. Online shopping sites helpfully suggest other products we might like to buy. All this is based on what we've already watched, listened to, or bought. So why not have a similar system to suggest whom we should vote for? With preferential voting, political parties and candidates already issue how-to vote cards, but what if an AI service could create a personalized how-to-vote card for each and every one of us?
No.
So I'm not going to go through the whole article because it's pretty plain and simple. They want to make an AI to just, send you a little suggestion on who you should vote for.
Based
instead
on your
of,
Google searches and what you've bought on Amazon and what you've watched on Netflix.
Instead of all that pesky having to, research policies and make a decision on the character of the political candidate, why not just let an artificial intelligence tell you what you want?
there's so many things wrong with this. Like, I don't even want to get started on the many
you don't sound
layers and
very
levels.
entertained by this idea.
No. We have enough trouble getting ourselves to really understand what's happening in the realm of politics, and it's a minefield already. I can understand the Hegelian dialectic angle of like, okay, let's just have the AI do it because it's when people do it, we obviously see the flaws.
Because we can't trust ourselves.
Yeah, we see the flaws, and we see how and a lot of I will say this, in a lot of ways, artificial intelligence running things, not like helping you vote, but actually running it, would probably be more efficient in actually getting things done. But at the same time, I think this is just a really bad way to get people to care even less about politics.
Yeah, I mean the myriad problems with this system are almost not even worth.
It's an ongoing conversation that we just don't have the time in a podcast episode.
But I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I think there are a huge swath of people out there that would just prefer to be told. I mean, we already like to be told how to vote. We're already kind of told what to do. We are.
Yeah.
But now instead of our news anchor telling us how to vote, it'll be the AI.
That's right. And it's really just a different outlet for the distribution of the information, I guess.
Yeah.
And to control your behavior.
Yes, it's a very efficient way to control our behavior.
Yeah.
As long as we trust AI. But there you go. That's our little AI in politics update.
Yeah, and we got Bina 48, which is a robot. We got a little jingle from her.
When I fly the missiles into other countries.
Yeah. We do have a jingle from her.
She wants to fly missiles into other countries, Basil.
You want to tell us about our birds aren't real update here?
Yeah, so this is futurism.com. Chinese military truck launches killer drones like artillery. Smart artillery.
Okay.
A new Chinese military truck can drive into battle armed to the teeth with 12 drones that turn the off-road vehicle into a comprehensive mothership of destruction.
I'm not going to lie. This is a pretty cool vehicle that is like something you'd have in StarCraft.
Yeah.
The video game.
Yeah. It says the truck was on display at the Beijing Civil Military Integration Expo last week, according to I don't even know how to say that.
C4ISRnet.
Net. Yeah.
Let's call it KaiserNet.
Yeah, it is probably KaiserNet, but they have the A as a 4. Yeah. While it looks inconspicuous at first, the truck houses launch tubes that fire off drones like artillery fire. The all-in-one unit may change the nature of drone warfare by giving China the ability to drive in, find and kill targets, and quickly evacuate the scene. They basically made a smart drone equipped drive-by shooting
command center. Yeah, drive-by. That's really what it is. And with all the talk of laser weapons, directed energy weapons, and sound weapons, and imaging through walls weapons, there's all sorts of futuristic military devices that we've sort of touched on in this show. This is, I think this one's the coolest.
It's definitely,
it's basically just a Humvee that can zoom into a battlefield, launch a couple drones into the air. Those drones, well, it says here, KaiserNet suspects, based on the truck's design, that it will have rapid-fire drones like any other artillery strike, meaning operators may not be able to divert the drones after its launch. Details on its targeting system are scarce. Where is the part that I'm trying to read? Oh, yeah, right here. The truck has 4 launch tubes for surveillance drones and 8 for explosive kamikaze drones.
Yeah.
Equipped with 4 pounds of explosives that can reach 110 miles per hour. So it's basically a Humvee that launches a few drones in the air and then can just drive away safely.
Yeah. Drones and missiles are kind of becoming one and the same here in this sense.
Yeah, I was going to say they sound a lot more like missiles, but maybe there's something about them.
Smart drones. They're
they can kind of
arrows that do not miss. As
well, if they're not rocket propelled, then I don't think they count as missiles.
Ah, okay. But they are smart.
So they're little helicopters. Maybe they're fixed wings. I don't know.
Yeah. So Angry Birds is real.
Yeah, Angry Birds.
It was just preparing us for the Chinese military drone artillery vehicles.
It is like Angry Birds. That's interesting. I saw an article recently. I didn't bring it to the show today, but talked about how Angry Birds, which was really the first worldwide phenomenon mobile game, was the first app or game to really abuse data collection. And apparently that's how they made most of their money. Was, make a fun game that everybody likes, everybody agrees to terms and services, and they have all your data.
So that was the model that the social media followed.
Yeah, they were kind of the first. Well, I don't know.
I guess maybe they were the ones that
on the game side, on the mobile app side. Yeah.
Right.
Speaking of the Beast System, guys.
Speaking of the Beast System.
Beep, beep, beep,
Coming
beep.
of age in the age of AI, the first fully digital generation. This is SingularityHub.com, a treasure trove of information about the Beast System and its coming apocalypse.
Yeah.
The first generation to grow up entirely in the 21st century will never remember a time before smartphones or smart assistants. They will likely be the first children to ride in self-driving cars, as well as the first whose healthcare and education could be increasingly turned over to artificially intelligent machines. Futurists, demographers, and marketers have yet to agree on the specifics of what defines the next wave of humanity to follow Generation Z. That hasn't stopped some, like Australian futurist Mark McCrindle, from coining the term Generation Alpha, denoting a sort of reboot of society in a fully realized digital age. Quote,
reboot society?
In the past, the individual had no power, really, McCrindle told Business Insider. Now the individual has great control of their lives through being able to leverage this world. Technology, in a sense, transformed the expectations of our interactions. No doubt, technology may impart Marvel superhero-like powers to Generation Alpha that even tech-savvy millennials never envisioned over cups of chai latte. Come on. But the powers of machine learning, we drink cold brew, not chai. But the powers of machine learning, computer vision, and other disciplines under the broad category of artificial intelligence will shape this yet unformed generation more definitively than any before it. And then the article goes into maybe, let's call it 25 paragraphs of how artificial intelligence is right now, as we speak, encroaching into basically babies. All the ways that AI is interacting with babies, starting at the embryonic level, going into newbornhood, detecting diseases, and helping healthcare providers, all the way to artificial intelligence being introduced into the classroom at a very early age. Talks about China, who is basically teaching elementary school children all the basics of artificial intelligence, hoping to get ahead of the curve of the new generation of development.
It's blurring the line between what's getting affected here.
But there you go, Gons. Generation Alpha.
I know. That means my child was born. So we looked it up. It said 2010 was really the year the Generation Alpha began, or at least he's calling it that. So that would make my newborn baby, well, she's not newborn anymore, 2-year-old baby, Generation Alpha, the middle of Generation Alpha. So there you go, Basil, your
well, and Generation Alpha, you actually reminded me. I'm sorry, I got distracted because I just got a text. I think the Roomba company sent me another Roomba.
Oh, 2 Roombas.
There's a package. I have another package with a Roomba in it.
They're like, this guy needs it. This guy really wants He needs a family of Roomba over there.
I love that. They sent me 2 Roombas.
This company's playing God. See, what happened was he said, Adam couldn't be alone. He needed a companion. We will send 2 this time.
To vacuum the garden.
Yeah, tend to Basil's garden.
Oh, I'm excited. I get to go set up another. Wow, what a wonderfully convenient customer support service they have.
And it's not Roomba. You keep saying Roomba, but it's not
I know.
Roomba.
One robot slave didn't do it for you. Here, we'll send you 2. Wow. Okay, I'm excited. Let's get this show over with.
Getting back to the article here, there's a little
Generation
section.
Alpha.
Generation Alpha. There's a section here. It says, last year, the Federal Defense Agency, DARPA, announced a new program aimed at improving AI by teaching it, quote, common sense. And one of the chief strategies is to develop systems for, quote, teaching machines through experience, mimicking the way babies grow to understand the world. So, I mean, they're just deconstructing babies, basically, and how they learn to help aid these AI babies.
AI babies. Now, I wanted to get into the Generation Alpha thing because you reminded me. I did not remember this. Generation Alpha makes an appearance in one of our favorite pieces of literature to refer back to. Yeah,
Brave New World by Aldous Huxley. The class system there, the alphas, the betas, the gammas, deltas, and epsilons. And there's little wiki books here that explains it. Alphas and betas are at the top of the caste system and perform the more intellectual jobs. Unlike the lower castes, alphas and betas are not clones, allowing for more individual personalities. In other words, like there's more humanity in them because they're basically humans, that have all this access. And then it mentions all the alphas. They wear gray. The betas wear mulberry. And,
so they're basically the alphas are the top of the caste system.
Yeah, and they control.
So here's the thing. Yeah, that would make. I mean, it's an interesting comparison because the kids being born now will never know a world without artificial intelligence. And so they are kind of the top caste of the next 100 years or more. We've talked about healthcare futurists believe that the first 150-year-old is already born. Yeah. And so...
Days of Noah, man.
Yeah, alphas could be living 200 years. Who knows? Yeah. We'll see how that goes. And that would bring us up, getting close to the 22nd century, 2100.
Yeah, that's right. Wait, are you setting up for the next one? Is that what you're doing?
That was the pitch.
Okay. Yeah. There's a bunch of them. So we...
Oh my gosh, go.
Speaking of the beast system, beast system.
Nephilim update, boy.
I don't think I did that right.
No, but that's okay.
All right.
Our 30 seconds of jingle planning did not go well.
No, it failed miserably. I need more windows. I need more screens.
Measure twice, cut once, Gons.
Getpocket.com. We are nowhere close to the limits of athletic performance. Genetic engineering will bring us new bolts and shacks. And before I read this, it was written by a man named Stephen Su. He's the vice president for research and a professor of theoretical physics at Michigan State University and an advisor for the Beijing Genomics Institute. And so here it is. It says, for many years, I lived in Eugene, Oregon, also known as Tracktown, USA, for its long tradition in track and field. Each summer, high-profile meets like the U.S. National Championships or Olympic trials would bring world-class competitors to the University of Oregon's Hayward Field. It was exciting to bump into great athletes at the local cafe or ice cream shop, or even find myself lifting weights or running on a track next to them. One morning, I was shocked to be passed as if standing still by a woman running 400-meter repeats. Her training pace was as fast as I could run a flat-out sprint over a much shorter distance. Now, Basil, I was a competitive swimmer growing up. And I got to go to a couple camps, to these like special select camps and stuff. And one of them was at USC. And I was, we're doing our workouts in USC, and I get run over by this girl who's swimming, like run over. I'm not even joking, run over by her. And she turned out to be an Olympic medalist, but I could not believe how fast she was training. She was going faster, exactly how this is described here. Full out sprint. What would be a full out sprint for me? That's how they were going consistently. So anyway, it's just a whole nother level. The simple fact that she was an extreme outlier and I wasn't. Athletic performance follows a normal distribution like many other quantities in nature. That means that the number of people capable of exceptional performance falls off exponentially as performance levels increase. While an 11-second 100-meter can win a high school student the league or district championship, a good state championship runs sub-11, and among 100 state champions, only few have any hope of running near 10 seconds. Keep going along this curve and you'll get to the freaks among freaks, competitors who shatter records and push limits beyond imagination. When Carl Lewis dominated sprinting in the late 1980s, sub 10-second 100-meter times were rare, and anything in the 10-second flat range guaranteed a high finish even at the Olympics. Which, by the way, I think there's an 18-year-old kid doing about 10.1 right now in high school. Have you heard about that kid, Basil?
No, I don't follow the Future Olympians magazine.
He's getting a lot of attention because of the color of his skin. But anyway, Lewis was a graceful 6'2", considered tall for a sprinter. Heights much greater than his were supposed to be a disadvantage for a sprinter, forcing a slower cadence and reduced speeds. At least that was the conventional wisdom. Bolt's times weren't just faster than anyone else in the world. They were considerably faster than those of a world-class runner from the previous generation that was using performance-enhancing drugs. The Jamaican-born Canadian sprinter Ben Johnson achieved a world record time of 9.79 seconds at the 88 Olympic Games, beating Lewis and boasting that he'd have been faster if he hadn't raised his hand in victory just ahead of the finish line. It would later be found that he'd been using steroids. Even the combination of an elite runner and anabolic steroids, though, was not enough to outcompete a genetic outlier. Bolt achieved a time of 9.58 seconds at the 2009 World Athletic Championships, setting a world record and beating his own previous record by a full tenth of a second. We find a similar story in the NBA with Shaquille O'Neal. O'Neal was the first 7-footer in the league who retained the power and agility of a much smaller man, neither a beanpole nor a plodding Hulk, which usually, if you're a big dude, you're either super skinny or you're very slow. He would have been an athletic 200-pounder if scaled down to 6 feet in height. When Shaq got the ball near the hoop, no man, or sometimes even two men, could stop him from dunking it. Soon after his entry into the league, basket frames had to be reinforced to prevent being destroyed by his dunks. After the Lakers won 3 championships...
Destroyed by his dunks.
Have you seen his backboard breaking dunks?
I can imagine.
He did I think he had one or two when he was in the pros, and I mean it was, or I know definitely in college, but I think maybe one in the pros. But yeah, it's crazy. That's nuts, man. You're breaking glass because you're so strong and all that. After the Lakers won 3 championships in a row, the NBA was forced to change their rules drastically, allowing zone defenses in order to reduce Shaq's domination of the game. Here was a genetic outlier whose performance was unequaled by anyone else in a league that has long been criticized for its soft anti-doping policy. For example, it only added blood testing for human growth hormone to its program last year. Whatever doping may have been going on, it wasn't enough to get anyone to Shaq's level. And then we'll skip some parts here. It says, by comparison, the potential improvements achieved by doping efforts are relatively modest. It mentions weightlifting, and it mentions Lance Armstrong and how, it didn't really, although it helped, it didn't really help that much compared to what had been previously in throughout history, because we really did see an acceleration of athletic ability in the last century. Uh-huh. And it says, continuing on here, we're just scratching the surface of what genetic outliers can do. The normal distribution we can see in athletic capabilities is a telltale signature of many small additive effects that are all independent from each other. Ultimately, these additive effects come from gene variants or alleles or alleles? Alleles, with small positive and negative consequences on each trait, such as height, muscularity, and coordination. It is now understood, for example, that great height is due to the combination of an unusually large number of positive variants and possibly some very rare mutations that have a large effect on its own. And then it gets into CRISPR tech, mentioning George Church, who basically created the CRISPR tool that we're pretty familiar with. And it says CRISPR-related technologies develop as anticipated, designer humans are at most a few decades away. Editing is most easily done soon after conception when the embryo consists of only a small number of cells, but it is also possible in adults. Clinical trials of CRISPR, when they start this year, will edit existing cells in adults using an injection of viral vector. It seems likely that CRISPR or some improved version of it will be established to be both safe and effective in the near future because complex traits are controlled by so many variants. We know that there's a huge pool of untapped potential that no human, not Shaq, Bolt, or anyone else, has come close to exhausting. No living human has anywhere near all the possible positive versions of the relevant genetic variants. The whole enterprise of competitive athletics has been, in effect, a search algorithm for genetic outliers, but it's been running for less than a century, and it hasn't been particularly efficient. Its approach has been to passively wait for random combinations to produce those variants and hope that athletic programs find the best individuals. Now we are entering an era in which it will not be chance that configures DNA, but rather the human intellect via tools of its own creation. As our understanding of complex trait improves, genetic engineers will be able to modify strength, size, explosiveness, endurance, quickness, speed, and even the determination and drive required for extensive athletic training. And it gets into a bunch of numbers here, and I'm going to shoot towards the end here. It says, in other words, it's highly unlikely that we have come anywhere close to maximum performance among all the 100 billion humans who have ever lived. A completely random search process might require the production of something like a Google different individuals. But we should be able to accelerate this search greatly through engineering. And after all, the agricultural breeding of animals like chickens and cows, which is kind of a directed selection, has easily produced animals that would have been 1 in a billion among the wild population. And that's definitely true. And it says towards the end here, Freeman Dyson speculated that one day humans would use genetic technologies to modify themselves for space exploration, making themselves more resistant to radiation, vacuum, and zero gravity, perhaps even able to extract energy directly from sunlight. Insertion of genes from entirely different species, like photosynthetic plant genes, brings a whole new meaning to the term GMO. Speciation seems a definite possibility. Human athletic ability might follow a similar trajectory. The nature of athletics and the sports they compete in are going to change due to new genomic technology. Will ordinary people lose interest? History suggests they won't. We love to marvel at exceptional, unimaginable ability. LeBron and Kobe and Shaq and Bolt are all stimulated interests in their sports. The most popular spectator sport of 2100 the year might be cage fights between 8-foot-tall titans capable of balletic spinning head kicks and intricate jiu-jitsu moves.
So we're talking about future sports, baby.
Or just a really, really fast 100-meter sprint. No doping required. So there you go. That's what we got in store.
More on the caste system, the future caste system of the world.
Yeah. And just as
athletic elites.
And just as a side note, they mentioned Shaq a lot in this article, and he definitely was one of a kind in terms of an NBA player. But he is definitely 100% a Freemason. 100%. Well, and that's evidence all over the place.
Good to know. Maybe we'll talk about that over in the extended report. That's right. Every week, folks, we do a whole nother episode of Canary Cry News Talk. This week, we're going to be talking about Shaq and his Freemasons and Gonza's Freemason evidence for him. We're going to be talking about a neural network that drew its own Pokemon, and it will give me nightmares for the rest of my life. A little bit more birds aren't real news and the Satoshi Nakamoto reveal.
Fail.
And how that ended up and what that means for cryptocurrency. If you guys are interested in any of this or just hanging out with Gonz and I a little bit more, you can head over to patreon.com/CCNT. Sign up. Help us out. We are an entirely listener-supported show. The only reason we're able to keep going is because listeners like you value the show at all. Maybe you value us as much as a cup of coffee a month. And for that, you can get extended reports every single week. That's double the Canary Cry, double the fun. And there's all sorts of fun stuff on there. So I recommend everybody go do that. And it gives Gonz and I the warm and fuzzies all over. And you get a shout out over on the extended reports. That's something people like, apparently. Other than that, hey, if you got people who are not listening to the show, maybe it's your mom, maybe it's your dad, maybe it's your brothers, sisters, or just your best friend, you gotta grab them by the shirt collar and shake them.
Did you ever have the feeling that you were being watched?
I want to shake things up, stir up some controversy, rattle a few cages. Hey, stop that! Don't ever silence me. I'm the last angry man, a crusader for the little guy. Leave the bird alone. Never. Rattle a few cages. Rattle a few cages.
Stop this progress before it is too late.
That's right, everybody. Head over to patreon.com/CCNT and make sure to tune in next week to Canary Cry News Talk. But until then, think outside the cage.
Hi. Hi.
What was that? Just a cool big boom?
Big boom.